Thanks for joining us for this roundtable discussion. The topic is best practices for using image generation tools in production. I'd like to welcome our panelists, and actually I'd like to give each of you a chance to introduce yourself, maybe just say your name, your role at the company, and the company. Sophia, let's start with you.
Yeah, thank you. My name is Sophie. I'm the CEO of Claid.ai. We are an AI product photography studio and building solutions for e-commerce with generative AI.
Hey everybody, my name's John. I have spent the last 24 years between Adobe and Google, most recently working on Adobe Firefly, and I am unemployed actually at the moment. I'm making a change to Microsoft, so that should be interesting. Anyway, really happy to be here. Would love to chat with folks after this.
Hey everyone, I'm Katie, founder and CEO of Simplified. We've been building this one app to create, collaborate, and scale your content. So all your AI apps in one place. So give it a try. Before we kick off this session, can we give a round of applause for Jackson, because guy is working really hard.
Yay!
Yeah.
Okay, let's get started. So topic, successful approaches for generating production-ready images with AI. What are the most successful approaches you've seen your customers or users take to generate production-ready images with AI? What is the biggest success story you've seen among designers for producing professional images with Gen AI? Sophie, why don't we start with you?
Yeah, definitely. So in our case, we have pretty precise application, and I will be demoing it later, that we help designers, marketers to create visuals for their products. So the biggest success for us, and we've seen that it was using live on the websites. We have a bunch of shops that are using generated product photography live, and it saves tons of money and costs with shooting stuff. So that's something that we are really proud of. But on the biggest success, and I asked if we can name not our product, the one that I actually really liked, and I think that what generative AI is opening new opportunities, is actually personalization. So recently, the one campaign that I liked was Coca-Cola's campaign that it was using with collaboration with OpenAI, that they were customizing bottles for Diwali holiday. And I thought that it's such a cool touch to give their users a power to do something custom with the brand and with the very special occasion that they have.
It's interesting you say that. It just brought to mind, right when DALL-E first shipped, I had a friend working at a design agency, and they were working with the Salvador Dali Museum. And I connected them with OpenAI folks, and they actually used DALL-E, the imaging model, in the DALL-E Museum to have people come up and actually like co-create art, kind of whatever you could imagine you could see.
Yeah.
But I was going to say, I think one of the big questions that has come up a lot as we were building Firefly was around commercial safety and viability. And if you're, just maybe working with a small client, maybe that's less of a concern. But if you're working with, let's say, Coca-Cola or, Nike, British Airways, whatever, one of the big concerns has been, well, where is the data sourced? And is it going to be safe for me to use? Or will it potentially produce a problem? Adobe made the choice to only source things which had been explicitly licensed. So mostly Adobe stock and other resources. As a result, it's possible to indemnify users, which is a pretty nerdy topic, but basically, if you're going to get sued, you'll have somebody standing behind you, right? And so I would say most likely the most successful uses of Firefly, at least, probably are things you don't notice because people kind of surgically apply it inside of Photoshop. Really, that's been the biggest product market fit. It's not even, I want to make an image from scratch, or even that I want to insert something, so much as it is, hey, I just want to remove something. I wish I had content or a fill that was a lot smarter. And so for me, defining success often comes down to, what does winning look like? Is it, I want to make a completely dynamic brand campaign? It might be, and I want to do that live in production. That's totally fair. But for a lot of people, kind of starting small in this very sort of commercially safe, localized way, I think has produced a lot of value right away.
So we have seen a wide variety of usage in AI. For example, we have seen some freelancers winning their next contract because they submitted the best images as compared to their peers. Or some marketer is generating last minute, scrambling for that last minute image, and they don't know how to write a prompt. Putting that prompt, general like, hey, I need this, and that image comes out, and their boss gives them accolades for, hey, this was like really amazingly done presentation. And those people, when they give us high five on our chat support or like reach out, say thank you, those are the main success moments we have seen. And we have seen like wide variety of, or even somebody is like building some, like just showcasing like, hey, I want to use AI images as a way of like meditate, just put my thoughts. Or even recently, one interesting example, I have like 2-year-old, 2.5-year-old and 7-year-old. And I asked them like scribble to art, for example, and they're scribbling like something. And when AI generates something for them, you can see the smile and the happiness on those kids. It's like unparalleled. So this is what's success for us when we are looking at AI images.
So I've asked you for a success story. Tell me, if you can, tell me about a failure. Tell me about something that isn't production ready or was intended to be production ready and just hasn't. Sophie, what do you think?
There's so many. I would say that not production ready yet, because like at this pace of acceleration, in 6 months it might not be the case. In our case, definitely, as we specialize in product photography, one of the most frequent requests and question that we get asked is about humans, because people want to promote and showcase their products, but then it's used by us, right? By humans, holding products, interacting with products. So we've done a lot of tests with humans, but I think it's still something that we're not fully confident to roll out, just because as humans, we are very good at detecting something that is like not good, like face expressions, some little artifacts in the eyes. And so as I said, it's progressing so fast. So I'm truly a believer that this year we will have very photorealistic humans, especially we already have humans with text to image. So vertical application like ours always comes next.
And maybe I'll just double click on what Sophie said. What is beautiful is very subjective because we come from like different background, different culture, different stuff. So something that is what AI generates, the training set it had while it training, and what is beautiful to AI, it's very different for what John might see beautiful. It may not be beautiful and relevant for me. What is Sophie will. So that is the biggest challenge, I would say, defining that and creating that personalized, like putting that, contextualizing that beautification in AI is difficult. And another thing which we have seen, which was like very surprising. So as a builder, when we build the tool, we have some specific thing in mind, like, oh, probably all our products or all our users will use product for scribble to art or like doing something beautiful. One fine day, we have seen sudden load on our servers, and we started monitoring the generations, and we have seen some not so good people or bad actors were generating like pornographic content. They were like trying a lot of different prompts. So when you prepare these kind of systems, you need to put enough safety things in place. I think as an industry, we need to, there is no standardization across the models. Each one is doing their ad hoc thing. So probably having some sort of a standard common underneath pattern so that way we can make these images commercial and safe for everybody. I'm sure there will be another models which will do for particular use cases. And I'm sure like John has more unique examples also in this area.
Yeah, I mean, for what it's worth, just yesterday somebody was DMing me on Twitter, and he was mad because he wanted in Photoshop to cut somebody's arm off and have blood spraying everywhere. So, okay, should Photoshop let you do that? Maybe, but it's debatable, right? And so just as there are beauty standards, there are ethics standards, like what things are okay to depict and not. A couple things. I would say, first of all, I'm here today. I would love to talk to you guys and kind of find out, failure-wise, what are things you're trying that are frustrating? If you've ever heard of jobs to be done as a methodology, the guy who came up with it said, if I can't find the struggle, I move on. So I always love to know where people are struggling. One thing, kind of like Sophie was saying, with humans, we're all really super well attuned to any strangeness, right? The uncanny valley, famously, it's like if you watch the Polar Express, people look a little off. I would say brands are similarly hyper attuned to exactly how their products are presented, right? So if you're dealing with Nike, it can't just be an Air Jordan or a Nike shoe. It has to be that one with the exact stitching. If you're working with Chanel or Coca-Cola, the way their bottle looks has to be perfect. So what I've seen people doing in the near term is combining actual product photography, where it really is the bottle or the shoe, with AI synthesized imagery. And that can really be effective at producing a large number of assets. Could be different aspect ratios, different moods, but you're not taking the risk of inadvertently messing up this really important brand asset. I think, as you're saying, over the course of the next year, almost certainly the training technology will get better. And I think you then could dynamically synthesize product imagery. But in the short term, taking sort of a hybrid approach of, quote unquote, real photos with synthetic pixels seems to be working pretty well.
Yeah. There is one more thing I want to say. When you're deploying this model at scale, this is a high compute intensive task. And when scalability and keeping the price consistent is a big challenge for any startups in a different stages. Running the AI at scale is a big challenge unless you are limiting users. So delivering consistent experience to user at efficient cost is a big challenge. And availability of those GPUs and everything. So that way there is a consistent experience to users and less disruption in their experience.
Yep.
So John mentioned the importance of speaking to users and getting feedback. We've talked about successes and failures. How do you measure success and failure of a new Gen AI feature? Is there a numeric way to do this? What are some KPIs you can share about finding out if a feature is a success or not?
I mean, for me, a lot comes down to figuring out, okay, what is the readiness of the tech? And then where can we successfully apply it today versus down the line? So something people really seem to love is ideation. For me, I've had a little time now, been walking the dog a lot. I'll see some interesting graffiti and I'll take a picture of that. I'm like, oh, I wonder, if it were a different word, but riffing on that visual style, how would that look? So I don't have any intention to, commercially use that. I'm just trying to kind of visualize something interesting. Or I'll come up with like a silly dad joke pun for my kids, and I'll be like, oh, what would that look like as Lego? And so those are kind of silly uses, but we talk to a lot of creators, and just for getting ideas out there, I think, Katie, you were talking like, sometimes it's, you ask for something, the AI will interpret in a way you probably wouldn't have, but you're like, well, that's actually interesting. I mean, I didn't mean that, but now that you mention it, it takes me in a fresh direction. So there, the commercial safety or the production readiness is less of a concern. So I feel like a lot of people are having success there. The other part, as I mentioned, is with a tool like Photoshop, generally folks aren't trying to make something from complete whole cloth. Really, it's like, hey, I've got this shot. For example, I came up here, the Blue Angels were flying over. I got a great shot of the 4 airplanes, but I missed the wing on one of them. I'm like, I wish I could just extend the canvas a little bit, right? And sort of like Matan was showing with video. It's like, if it's just these little changes, likely being a little bit more modest in your goal, I think can get you something very actionable right now. And then, as we were all saying, probably by the time we're done with this 20-minute talk, there'll be some new state-of-the-art that we all missed on Twitter, and then that'll have solved these problems. So we won't have to wait long.
Yeah. And some sort of building this thumbs up, like human expressions, when they generate something, also using LLMs to improve their prompts or giving some presets is like some kind of easy way to simplifying this whole thing. Because not every user is not very tech savvy, or they don't know how to write these prompts. So when we are building our AI text to image generation, we are always thinking from like, how can my grandfather or like someone who not necessarily tech savvy can generate these images. Can I give them like 2 clicks, and then it's almost like capture their thought process at early on, so that way we can give them desired results. And once the results are out, I mean, of course, there will be like, we're still in a early stages of this AI image to art or these generations. So having some sort of like thumbs up, human expression like Facebook style, thumbs up, thumbs down, love, share, download, and then measuring those and getting that information back and sort of retraining your systems or acting on it. Also, sometimes human curation. There is no way, let's say, for example, if certain prompts start generating bad results on it proactively, or certain, let's say, artist style, if there is a copyright infringement or something. So as a company, we need to be responsible citizen of AI to take those content back and make sure that we don't run into this, or the people who are using our tools don't run into this copyright infringement. It is still a gray area, but we are trying our best to kind of confine it.
Okay, I've got another question. Speaking of things going into production and practical use cases, one issue I think many users have encountered is balancing creativity and consistency with their generation practices. How do you strike a balance between leveraging AI image generation tools for creative design exploration and maintaining a consistent visual identity in your projects?
Yeah, to me, it's a fascinating question because it's sort of like, what do you want at a given moment, right? Do I want a happy accident? Do I want to be maybe provoked or challenged? Or do I want to just get a specific thing? So for me, for example, my brother bought a truck. He hauls milk for a living. And he wanted something really simple, which was just 3 cows, 2 standing up and 1 lying down. And now maybe things are better now, but as of August, I could not get a single model to do it for me. So I had something very specific, and you'd think that's pretty trivial, but it really wasn't. And it was a lot of like, hacking at it and copying and pasting and trickery. One thing I do think is helpful in production, at least in Firefly, is now there's the ability to upload a reference image for style. And you can then use that image in concert with lots of different prompts. You can also save that as a favorite, and you can even share the link with the reference image in it. So, for example, let's say you have like an interesting metallic sectionally. Now it's not perfect, but for the phase where you have something clearer in your mind's eye, I think having that modality will help. And then down the line, other techniques like maybe using 3D primitives can get you something that more regularly adheres to what you have in mind. But I also, like I say, I think it really depends what phase you want to augment with the tools today.
Sophie?
Yeah, that's a billion-dollar question that a lot of developers try to answer. So in our case, and I will be demoing these methods later, so definitely we are adding some limitations that will give a little bit more input to things. So like if we can get more and more inputs, that you get more desirable results. So we have a possibility to upload templates. We have a possibility even to upload the backgrounds that you generated elsewhere and you are like in love with. Because I know that a lot of creatives spend hours prompting, and then like finally you have your perfect shot. So we want to give it this opportunity to be able to reuse them and do not change them if you love them in that way.
I think I have 2 points in this one particular thing. First is the way we are using the tooling. So we need to almost like keep re-educating users again and again and again, because how do you balance creativity? If you look at like at least our generation, maybe next generation will be different, because our generation, when we started using the paintbrush early days, if you remember those who use paintbrush, I think from there to now, somehow we lost our creativity along the way, and we focused a lot more on learning tools. And I think with AI, what's happening is it's almost like that tooling overload is going away, and now we need to start harnessing our creativity again. So for now, to answer your first question, to ensure you deliver like on brand, what we encourage our users to set sort of a brand books, style guides, so that way when we are generating, we know what are the guardrails, which words to use, which styles who is their target audience. So that way we can it's almost like we are in a stage of self-driving car where you still need a co-passenger to sit and guide, like, okay, if I'm going to press a brake here because maybe like it's speeding up, probably in next, I mean, since years of progress is happening in days, I'd say next 6 to 12 months, AI will be way more smarter to understand, like, okay, there is a speed bump, I'm going to press a brake here. So that's the second thing. And then I think for future generations to come, I think maintaining that creativity and just giving reducing that cognitive overload of tooling that's where we are heading. And hopefully that will start striking the balance as we bring. And another thing is, like, everything is not chat. I think it's when we are building this UX experience also, you need to think like, how can you allow users to places where they can have contextual AI, so that way the tooling, the capabilities are available immediately to them. So that way they can continue to do what they are looking for, but make them look smarter to achieve the desired results.
Thank you so much. I really appreciated this discussion. Let's give the three panelists a round of applause. John, Nack, KD, and Sofiia.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Everybody.